Welcome, everybody. My name is Walter Contreras. I'm the CEO of Motiva, and Robert is the VP of Sales for Motiva. Say hi, Robert.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it looks like we have a full house. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is this concept of the modern office. And the reality is that, as we all know, the office space has changed, and how drastically that change is going to affect businesses going forward, more specifically in the technology and how technology will help you with that. So what we're going to talk about today is how the workspace has been affected. There might be new legislation coming up, especially in the cybersecurity laws. How is the team productivity today compared to before? How the IT companies and IT services have failed the consumer to indoctrinate them into new technologies, how the cyber threats are growing, Robert, and increasingly getting insane right now, what shadow IT is, and what the modern office is, and why we use the cloud to fix all these issues, right? The home office and the work space is going to change drastically. And we'll touch on Microsoft Office 365, which is an incredible tool. And we'll do a live demo. We'll see what happens live, Robert. So what we will learn is why allowing employees to work from home is really your secret weapon. This is one of the things you want to leverage the most and have and make sure they have the most security and workflows implemented. And so how cloud systems really not only are going to help you weather the storm, get better at the functionality of data, but also how you can have a return on your investment at a much faster pace. So who am I? I have been in technology for the last 25 years. Our mission at Motiva is to serve and support our customers to the best of our ability using technology to their advantage. And, you know, I've seen anywhere from small, very, very small businesses, 5 users, all the way up to hundreds of users. And the reality is that we all need some sort of a cloud system to leverage technology. And, you know, the world has changed, whether we like it or not. After this moment, a lot of the things that we were doing before, we're just not able to do. So for those reasons, we need to be more open-minded when it comes to our technology, and more importantly, those that have the context to actually make a change in the way we do business. And this is what your office looked like before the pandemic, right? And so the important thing here, maybe your business was a little bit complacent about making changes in technology. Maybe it took a longer process to get to, you know, effectively look at your technology stack. And so, but this may not be the norm anymore, right? The norm is that your office space has changed, and with it, your technology. So and who knows how we're gonna end up at the end of the pandemic, what it looks like at the end of the tunnel for a lot of us, right? So that's why it's important to understand the technology that can get us there and help us grow. And who knows, maybe, you know, there will be mandatory legislation saying, hey guys, you know, 50% of your workforce now has to stay home and work remotely, right? And so we have to adhere to those new laws. And more importantly, we have to make sure that our systems can handle that in a secure way, so we can not only comply with the law, right, but also make sure that our data is safe. And needless to say, you know, they're talking about a second wave of the pandemic. Who knows? It could be another natural event that will force us to work from home again. So I want to make sure that this webinar helps you prepare for the future, and that you have information that you can make very, very good decisions based on, that is meaningful information to you. And we're going to open it up for Q&A if you have a lot of questions about what I'm talking about. So there were some interesting things that I wanted to show you before we continue. One of those is like how interesting it was that, you know, employees are still able to be very productive while working from home. In many cases, productivity has gone up because people found more time, maybe, and they were able to work a little longer. Some people were answering phones on their voice over IP phone systems, just as if they were in the office. In some cases, I know my team installed telephones on someone's laptops, and they were answering calls like if they were in the office. So that was great. The result of all of this was a total business continuity, which resulted in people being productive and businesses is still operating. And that was very good to see. I was just so thrilled to see that. And we were able to help people do that. But, you know, for years, a lot of, and working in this field, a lot of business owners, I felt that they had a resistance to let employees work from home. And, you know, I think that a lot of this has literally been mainly out of fear. And the reason being is because we thought that they would just be home watching TV, right? Or the work wouldn't get done on time, that the phones wouldn't get answered. Maybe they were, you know, stealing your book of business, or who knows, maybe the data is being compromised on local computers. You probably thought that you needed to buy new equipment. And what we learned during this moment is that this is an essential tool for any business, and especially going forward, right? We're not going to be able to do business the way we did before. That's a fact, okay? If you think that you're still going to be able to do businesses the way you did before, I got news for you. That is just not going to work anymore. So, but I do believe that a lot of these decisions we make as business owners, we make them out of fear and not out of facts. Okay, so I'm going to give you the facts today, and hopefully I can help you change that mindset. Because in reality, you know, if you think about IT companies, and I just want to make a quick disclaimer here, Robert, because I'm gonna get chewed up for this. But I do belong. I am an IT company. I do belong to an organization, marketing organization around the country that handles somewhere around 3,000 of the top IT companies in the country, and I belong to an elite group of 300. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just telling you because I had the same conversation with them as I am having with you, an honest conversation about how IT services in general have failed you. And the reason is because, you know, they're more inclined to have servers on premise, right? We're more inclined, if you have a server, great, yeah, we can charge you more for it, right? There's a constant refresh of computers and systems and hardware and all that other stuff. You know, when you think about it, firewalls and things like that, they're kind of useless when you're working from home. So, and there's very little existence of cybersecurity protocols. I could almost guarantee you, I mean, we are what we call the next generation of IT services company, MSSP, which is Managed Secure Services. We're very focused on cybersecurity, but I can tell you there's a lot of places that I've go to, almost 99.9% of places I go to, there has been small emphasis on cybersecurity that causes a lot of problems. So it's the constant fixing of issues, right? It's almost like you got to call the help desk every day for the same problem, and it never really gets resolved. So there's a problem with the way we operate right now, and I got to tell you, this is where my passion really comes out, because the problem that I have is you're still working like 1998, right? We're still doing the VPN thing, right? If that VPN, God forbid, disconnects or it was misconfigured, or you know the computer on the other end shuts off, or God forbid that server turned off, God forbid that server got a virus. I mean, you're done. You can't work anymore. So this is where the passion comes from me, because you don't have to work like this anymore. We're in 2020. This moment has really pushed us forward to look at technology in a whole different way. So your home computers obviously are never going to be as up to date as the ones in the office. So there's a lot of little things here. And the one that really drives me insane is that almost everybody on this call is bound by some cybersecurity law in the state of New York. if you hold any sort of personal identifiable information, and Robert, I won't get into it too much, but you know, I'm talking about the SHIELD Act and the DFS Cybersecurity Act. So we're violating these laws just by just working remotely. And that's a big problem. Okay. The second problem that I see is this is a hacker's fiesta, right? I mean, right now, over the last 3 weeks, cyber attacks have gone up 4,000% in the form of COVID-19 scams. Actually, I just saw a new one a couple of days ago that is about the PPP check because everybody knows that we're expecting emails from that. So, and you know that IT managers right now are at a maximum capacity. The guard is down, networks are not being watched. Cyber criminals know this, right? They know this moment, and they're being more active than ever on the dark web. So they know you're vulnerable. And then we have the problem of shadow IT. And if you're not familiar with the concept of shadow IT, is the one where employees get to install applications on computers that are being used to access corporate data. And believe it or not, this has been a big problem right now that employees are working from home. We're talking about the Dropboxes, the Netflixes, and we wrote an article with Newsday about shadow IT where we really posed the question about how are companies managing this data access from remote computers, from internal computers, and knowing which applications, which programs are installed on those computers to secure your data. So that's what shadow IT is in a nutshell. So, Robert, you still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
So the question that came up a lot, Robert, was, so how do we fix this problem, right? And so the real thing is that the only answer to this is the modern office space. One where you're no longer limited to that physical space office at your location, right? And the other one is where your employees will probably work from home most of the time, or at least a percentage of the time. And how do you manage that data from where you're not seeing that activity? By the way, they may work from anywhere. And if we learn anything as business owners during this moment, is the fact that they can, and they can still be as productive as they were by working from anywhere. So the modern office space is literally limitless. Imagine the days where somebody can spend more time with their family, which we one of the biggest takeaway for me, Robert, during this time is the time I spent with my little girl. And I got to tell you, I want to work like this. I want to work from home more because I feel so great to have time with her and get back to work, do my thing, and then get back to it. So it's been a tremendous, tremendous thing for me. And so, Robert, you minding the questions? So you let me know if I need to pause or something. So the only way to accomplish this process right now is by using the cloud. And by the way, what a great thing that we had internet access, that we can watch movies during this time, and all is being done 100% from the cloud. So if you're not paying attention about the cloud, this is the moment that you want to, okay? So what clouds and why is the cloud so important, right? In many cases, there's been so many misconceptions about the cloud. The cloud is insecure, or the cloud has issues. And so I'm here to show you how wonderful collaborating online is and working from anywhere using Microsoft Office 365. And some of you have heard of Microsoft Office 365, but think about Microsoft Office 365 as the next generation of technologies from those old on-premise servers to these cloud systems where you no longer have to be bound by these limitations. So, and conceptually, we can collaborate from anywhere. And there are many tools on the Office 365 platform, and I do believe that at times Microsoft doesn't do a great job. This is a little bit confusing at times for people. So I'm here to hopefully help you understand how and which technologies are the ones that you will want to pay attention to. Why is this the first time you're hearing about this? I'll be honest with you, and we talked about this in the IT has value slide, because as IT companies, they might be afraid to losing servers, right? They're going to have to not charge you for those. Some of them, sadly enough, they don't know the technology themselves. Is a lot of work. To migrate you from the first and only time we had to migrate you to the cloud, it takes a little bit of work. And it has to be done in a very specific way by engineers that understand the technology. We have been doing it for at least 7 years now, so we have a vast knowledge of this process. And there's that misconception where people say, oh, the cloud is not secure. I just don't believe that, because I do work on cybersecurity as well. And I know that the cloud could be very, very secure, way, way more. You'll never have the budget that Microsoft has to protect their networks than your actual on-premise system. So, and we all know Microsoft Outlook, right? Everybody uses email. Email continues to be the preferred method of communication. I can tell you that that's probably the first thing that most IT companies move to the cloud, only because it's just so expensive to maintain it on premise. They move email to the cloud, and that's probably what you're used to right now. Some of them, do a good job with that. Some don't. Some don't even enable multi-factor, but that's a whole nother seminar we'll do. Security is a big piece of it, because it's hyper secure when you do it correctly. And there are other pieces of this collaboration, which is where I'm really more passionate about, whereas data is so important to me, and the data management and governance of that. For example, utilizing OneDrive, which is Microsoft Cloud hosted solution of files and folders, and SharePoint, which really SharePoint, it's a double-edged sword, where you have your files on the cloud, but you also have internal websites and things like that for collaboration. So, but we're going to talk about simplicity right now. And I want you to remember, how many of you, please raise your hand, how many of you knows what these folders are? These are what we call the network folders, right? So these network folders is the old way where they used to sit on your server, okay? And they will get full, they will have to move stuff, maybe add hard drives. It's a nightmare, right? And God forbid a computer gets infected locally with a ransomware, those drives become infected as well. So there's a lot of things happening here that's a big problem. So that's the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things, as you can see here, is by a cloud system. And if you notice here on the right-hand side, every one of those folders has a tiny little brown lock on the top. It's hard to see, but as you can see, all these files, and the status says online. You can see a little cloud here on the right-hand side. And really what that means is that it appears to be on your local computer. This is what they look like locally, but they're actually residing on the cloud. Why is that important? Many, many reasons. One, it's way, way more secure. Two, you only open what you need, which means it'll never download that file unless you need it. Number three, it is hyper secure on the cloud. The sharing capabilities are very good. So there's a lot pros about keeping this on the cloud. And by the way, you don't need that server anymore, right? So it's a big cost savings. And so, while we speak about the Microsoft stack of systems, I want to bring you into this product called Microsoft Teams. We all have been hearing about Zoom, and by the way, Zoom is a great platform. I love it. We use it a lot. But the reality is, I had this lady on the webinar. She said to me, "You know what, Walter? I started using Microsoft Teams, which is Microsoft's chat video collaboration system for video conferencing as well as chat and doing these meetings like Zoom. And it's part of the Office 365 package, which means that it's already free for you if you're a member of 365. But this lady said to me, you know what, Walter, it used to take me 20 minutes to get everybody in the conference room. to get a meeting going. With Microsoft Teams, I click on the button, everybody jumps in. And I have to tell you, I have been doing this remote thing with we have teams in many places around the world, and I have been doing this for years. However, you will think that you miss a lot of the interaction, but when you're doing video and conferencing, the collaboration is way faster because you're just not wasting time. You're directly into the meeting, and you can start the meeting right away. If you need to ping somebody that's busy, right, you would send them a message. They'll send you a file right inside Teams. So Microsoft Teams is a tremendous tool for collaboration, and it's part of Microsoft for free. So we're going to talk about that more in detail. So for internal communication, one single tool for everything. And when we talked about shadow IT, we talked about those approved applications. Here's where the security part of this presentation starts, right? Where you, as the IT administrator, manage what those users get on those computers. And that's a big problem for people that are working remotely, because you just don't know which applications are being installed on their computers, or they could be viruses, right? They could be malware. So we don't really know what that is, and there's really no way to track that. Business continuity, the purpose of a business continuity plan is to minimize the damage or disruption of business. And by having a cloud system, you will be 100% operational at all times. And it comes down to making sure that that continuity continues. Robert, I see a couple questions come in. You want me to address them now?
Yeah, that'd be great. One applies to this one of the slides we just did concerning Teams. William Libardi here. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, William. He's just asking if everyone needs a camera for Microsoft Teams.
It's better to have a camera only because by the way, how you doing, Bill?
Oh,
It's great
actually,
to see you, man.
it's his colleague Tonya. It wasn't
Okay.
Bill. It's just his name.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, no, I prefer to have a camera only because it kind of gives you that personal feeling, especially now when people are working from home. It's a really good feeling to see somebody face to face. We do it all the time, Robert. And so I do prefer. It's not mandatory. You can actually continue, still have a meeting. Actually, Robert doesn't have a camera where he's at right now, but he's still on Zoom. So you can still have the meetings. You just won't see the person. What's next, Rob?
So that was a great question too. Just another question here with Teams itself. One I've gotten previously is, how new is the technology? I don't think a lot of people realize. Not only is it similar to Skype, but I think you even told me how that. If you want to explain quickly why it's so ahead of everybody else because of Skype.
Yeah, Microsoft purchased Skype years ago for some $1 billion, and they took that. They really wanted to be in the space of telephony, and they took that technology and incorporated it inside Teams. It took them about 5 years actually to get it right, but Microsoft Teams now has become a very mature system. We do from telephone calls. You know this, Robert. We use it for our own internal video chats, our internal video conferences. We do it for all of our recording for trainings. We use it for making outbound calls. So we really do use Teams as the center of everything. And if we had time, Robert, we'll probably get into a demo with that. So, but let's continue on. So who is all of this technology for? And the answer is everybody, right? I've yet to come across a business that either too small or too big to have this kind of technology. And if your servers are aging and you're ending at the life cycle, this is a perfect moment for that. You want to implement true remote capabilities. This is a perfect time for that. Savings, right? Obviously, there's a lot less hardware to buy here, so compliance is a big deal. I mean, when I tell you about compliance, this is all we do at Motiva is compliance, and almost everybody violates those rules. So it's just a matter of time to get into some sort of trouble. The ROI when you have a system like this is immediately, right? Because you eliminate the need for physical hardware. And let's face it, the one thing that will constantly be a thing to change and repair, it's hardware, right? So, and the other thing is the mobility. One question that came up recently from our peer groups was, do you still need the size of the office space where you are right now? And I just don't know anymore. I honestly, my lease is up in another 6 months. I don't know if I need that big space anymore because in reality, a lot of my people like working from home. They're spending more time with their families. They're having a better quality of life, and they're still getting the work done for me. So for me, it's not a problem. And I would like to show you how for you that also cannot be a problem. So this is a good way to start thinking about, do I still need that, right? So your ROI could be greater, but you have to leverage technology, the right technology on the cloud. So other factors are, this is a very flexible system, is a fixed cost per user per month. There's no out of pocket, right? You're not putting out $20,000 to buy servers. It's very efficient. It's a productivity animal. It's an operating expense for you. And honestly, even during this difficult time, we have been able to have some fun with, we had a happy hour with the guys on Teams. I mean, we can't see each other right now in person, but it has helped us be more productive. So to get started, today I know you guys' time is very important. So I wanted to give something back to you guys. If you want me to review your technology, just shoot me an email. I'm gonna post it after the webinar. Shoot me an email. I am gonna be more than happy to review what you have. No obligation. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to help you guys. And obviously, we have to do it via Zoom because nobody's going out right now. But I'll be more than happy to review what you have. Just shoot me an email and we'll get you going. Okay. When I do this assessment, what you're gonna know is if your data is safe and is being accessed remotely, is still in good practices. How your data is truly secure is that I will give you a health score and determine the areas where you need to focus the most. And I will look at your backup data, right? I will look at your data in essence and see where that data resides. How can we move it to the cloud and implement a system that you never had to think about that again? So Robert, I see there's a bunch of more questions coming through. I wanted to post, I'm gonna send a polling right now. I just had a couple of questions about, you know, how people feel about accessing their data remotely. I know a lot of people are working from home. I just wanna know how people feel. If you don't mind, this is all, we're not gonna know who it is, but I just posted something. If you want to share your thoughts on how concerned you are about your data, we will appreciate. While this is going, another few minutes here, what are the questions that we're seeing on the queue?
I have one, just came in here from John Cohen. John, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. He's asking, how does Microsoft Teams handle the quality of music in my presentation? I use Zoom with the original microphone turned off and it works well.
Did you say music?
Yeah, music. So I guess he's just questioning about the, how the connection transfers over all that data in terms of the music quality and all that stuff, and in his
Yeah,
presentation.
most of these systems, I can tell you that the platform of Microsoft Teams is it's much greater in the sense of bandwidth and quality than Zoom is. So, as I'm not pushing any products here, I'm just telling you the facts because I do work with Azure myself, and I know that their platforms are very robust. In fact, a lot of Zoom issues in the last few weeks, and so it's going to be identical, if not better. I haven't tried it myself. I haven't played music via Zoom, but via Teams. But I will have to assume that it's similar or better than Zoom.
Yeah, and just to chime in, I can definitely speak to that. So Kari, our resident CTO and DJ, she's played some music before, and yeah, it's definitely come over very clear, high quality audio, which was great. And I have another question here coming in from an anonymous attendee. I guess concerning the modern office and how it integrates and handles other applications. They're asking, how do we handle QuickBooks?
What a great question, you know. And this is something that IT organizations think about all the time. Like, how do I take those files or programs that are running on those servers and move them to the cloud? So there's two ways to do that. The first one is you can move QuickBooks to a QuickBooks Online. And I get it. Some people say to me, you know what, Walter, I don't want my QuickBooks Online. I don't want that stuff online. And I get that. So if you don't want to go on the online version of QuickBooks, there's a lot of pros. I like it because you never have to think about a backup. They have a restore process. If you delete something, you go back to the last time you made that change. Uh, for many, many reasons, I like QuickBooks Online. It has a lot of open, what we call connections, so that I can run all sorts of reports. But I get it. Some people do not want to go to QuickBooks Online. In the latest version of Microsoft 365, you could actually take your QuickBooks file, which is called the QuickBooks database file, and post it on the SharePoint folder, just like the ones I showed you before, and you can access that program directly from the cloud in your local computer. So that was a great question.
It really was. And actually, I just have another, looks like a comment here coming in from Tyler. Tyler, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us, brother. I hope you're well. He just has a comment. He says he's been using Skype for Business and Teams with Skype for Business through Prudential Advisors and going on appointments with clients and joint work partners for over 2 years now. His partners and him have sold 20 life insurance policies last week alone with the platform virtually and produced $30,000 collectively. Motiva has the experience and knowledge to make your platform compliant. Thank you so much, Tyler. That
Thank
really
you,
does mean
Tyler.
a lot. And
And we know that's true. That actually works doing sales because we're doing it with the platforms also.
yeah, it's a phenomenal too, and it's great. I think you and I could speak personally. Tyler's personality really does shine and still comes through virtually, so nothing lost there.
Nothing
Um,
lost.
Absolutely not. Michael Richter. Michael, good morning. He is saying we replaced our server with Dropbox, except QB, many years ago and have not had any issues. What are the problems with Dropbox?
Great question, which will bring me to my segue here. So, what are the problem with Dropbox? You know what? It's for me, the problem with Dropbox is not a real problem with Dropbox. Is with the concept that there's always like so many different places where you have to have so many different things. We actually encountered this at Motiva. We had Slack before, we had Google Drive, we have all these technologies, and we were a little bit resistant to go to Microsoft because we were like, you know what? We kind of comfortable here using this thing. And so we decided to move to 365, and the move has been nothing but amazing. And we were doing that for customers, and then we started doing it for us. The idea behind it is that everything is in one place. And Robert, I don't know if you can see my screen here.
Yep, just popped up clear.
Cool. So I'm gonna show you. Let me just see. I'm gonna show you something really cool here. So think about think about a single location for all your system files, right? And let me share this real quick, Robert. Let me know if you can see my SharePoint.
Yep, the company landing just popped up.
Great. So there's not a problem with Dropbox. I just like things in one place. One single authentication will allow me to go into one system with my multi-factor, and multi-factor authentication is a method where I securely, and anyone that's part of my organization securely manages those files in one place. This is a landing page that we built at Motiva. This is a very simple landing page we made. There's nothing custom here, guys. We didn't go and reinvent the wheel here. This is just using Microsoft same product, right? I'm not using Dropbox. I'm not using a bunch of other things. I'm using one single product. And so what we did here is we created a page where as soon as you log into this page, all the documents that you have used recently appear on your right-hand side. If you belong to these groups, right, like a projects or sales group, you will have access to these files immediately. If you don't and you're not part of that group, you could ask request to access, but it's all based on access rights. The other thing we did is Microsoft Teams, every time you conduct a meeting on Teams, and we do this for training quite a bit. So if you guys are doing training, this is a great tool. Every time we join a Microsoft Teams meeting, you have an option to record it. Okay, and Microsoft has a product called Sway, which every time you record, it places it on the web on an internal website. So what you see here, these are actual meetings that we had throughout the day, and they're automatically posting there. We're not even doing anything, right? So think about you have a new employee, you're showing them how to use something on your, if you're an insurance broker, you're showing them how to do something on their agency management software, and then maybe you want to save that so other employees can learn how to do that. You can just record it with Teams and it's right there, one platform. I don't have to go thinking about logging into Dropbox or anything else to get that, or saving into it something, and it's just very cumbersome for me. And there are other tools, by the way. I'm not going to bore you with the tools with Microsoft, but some of the tools are, for example, Microsoft Planner. I love Planner because it's part of Microsoft 365. But how many of us go into meetings and we say, "Hey, Michael, can you remember to do that thing? And can you, John, do that?" And it's like no one knows what they're doing. With Planner, you can just assign it to them while on the meeting and put a due date on it, and that's it. It's all within Teams 365, and it's all in one place, which is the beauty of it. So to answer that question, it's the one place thing that I love that really hits home for me. And Robert, I don't know if we'll have time for this, but you know, we were going to show a little bit about that automation with Microsoft Intune and Autopilot, which allows for the secure. Now that we're talking about Dropbox, can you see my screen, Robert, in full?
Yeah, it just popped up.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to showcase today is the reason why this is so secure, right? So think about this computer. Let's say this computer is the first time I'm touching it, it's a new customer, or maybe this is that employee of yours that is working from home, right? These guys are working from home, and all we got to do is, if we want to join them into our corporate system, right? We go and we do that. And the reason why I want to show you this is because it's really important to show you. Just stay with me because I don't want to confuse anybody with this, but I just want to show you something. So when we join this computer to our environment, in other words, you as an organization have Office 365 and somebody has to go to work from home immediately and they either have a laptop or you giving them one, right? They will become part of the organization. And as IT policies, we push these policies to them and we say, hey, when you join our organization, we are going to determine which application we're going to put our cybersecurity stack, our antivirus, our malware systems. We're going to choose which programs we're going to install, right? So we're going to put it in a secure environment for that computer. So this is a computer that's completely off-site. It's accessing your data, but it's completely offsite. I just want to show you how powerful this thing is, because at some point, talk about those drop boxes. So here's a demo of how data governance is so important. Let me just fast forward it to this here. So we're 3823, and I want to show you what happens. So here, one of our employees was trying to take and let me go back just a little bit because I want to show you this. So as you can see here on the right-hand side, these are files with a little dot on top, which means that they're secure, okay? These are secure files within that computer. And you remember the screenshot I was showing you, those new folders on the cloud. So these secure files, one of our employees went to a personal OneDrive, think about like a Dropbox kind of thing, and they tried to check out a file. And look what happens when you try to copy a file into an unapproved website, okay? It tells them immediately that this is a protected file, you cannot check it out of the system. And this is on a local computer, by the way. So think about the potential of your data leaking anywhere, being stopped here because they no longer have access to sharing it. And by the way, the same happens if they put a thumb drive in that computer, if they try to copy it to that computer. One important key element, and this is written on the New York cybersecurity law, it says that your hard drives must be encrypted. And the reason for that, just so everybody knows without getting too techie, is because when you encrypt that hard drive, you can no longer copy those files, even if you took that physical hard drive out of the computer. You cannot accomplish that unless you're using a system like Office 365. And I see some more questions coming in, Robert. I'm just going to push another poll for, I want to know, when was the last time you guys did a cybersecurity audit? If you don't mind sharing that. Robert, you have more questions for me?
I do, and what you just showed was extremely thorough. It actually reminds me of a story of, there's some insurance companies that they're worried about their agents stealing the book of business. No, they can't. Just phenomenal. But yeah, I have a couple more coming through. I have Michael Barrett. Good morning. It's good to hear from you. Thanks for joining us so much. He's asking, regarding remote access to the cloud, how would clients access specific program or legal applications?
You mean like their clients or his employees or his customers?
I believe his customers or whoever's using this, like think of a lawyer with documents or whatever.
Microsoft 365, you can create a folder on that SharePoint, which will be for customers. And the beauty of it is that you can do it per customer. When you share that folder, it will only allow that person to authenticate by creating an account in your system, right? That has a PIN number and a whole authentication process. And only then they can put files into that folder. So you don't have to pay for, because I know a lot of attorneys and accountants, by the way, they pay for secure file sharing software, which could be pricey. I've seen some of them, you don't have to do that anymore because within your platform, you can share secure folders for those particular customers only. And they and you are the only ones that have access to that.
Excellent, excellent. I have two more questions that came through, first from David and then from John. David Sperling, good morning, and thank you again for interacting with us. Your thoughts on Microsoft Bookings versus Calendly?
Great question. So let me just share my screen in real time. So it's a great question because Microsoft, I'm a big fan of using what you already pay for, right? And we talk about this all the time, Robert, it's just not just savings, but the fact that it's in one platform is great. So remember the SharePoint I showed you earlier on? And all we did is we put a shortcut to Microsoft Bookings here. And Microsoft Bookings, it's really a tool that allows your customers or vendors or whoever you're doing business with to go out and pick a date and time that's available in your calendar. And it does that by looking at your calendar, and you just click on the options and it takes you there. So this is Microsoft Bookings, and you can customize it many which ways. So if you charge for it, David, I know that you charge for an additional consultation as an attorney. You could actually set this up so it creates an invoice inside of Microsoft when you click on the initial consult and they select your name, right? And they'll see the available times here, and they can go ahead and book that time. So Bookings and Calendly are very similar, except for the fact that Bookings is part of Office 365. Again, going back to the concept of using what platform for everything.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal tool that makes everything so much easier. And just before I get to the next question, just a quick anecdote. When you were talking about how to prioritize and organize your employees' time, I know that was a question I'd gotten a lot from different business owners, management, C-level managers, who are worried about right now they feel like they need to almost virtually look over their employees' shoulders because they're not being as productive maybe if they're not on the phone with them or even on a Zoom with them, right? And so now where does that time go? You might as well do the work yourself. And I believe with the productivity and setting tasks, the Microsoft Planner would be an excellent answer for that. So that is something I've run into a lot. I have a next question here from John Cohen. John, thank you again for being so interactive this morning. From John, I do worry about the security, especially with QuickBooks and personal employee data. What kind of technology is in place to really protect us from cyber attacks in the Microsoft cloud? And how does Microsoft contractually protect us in their fine print as users?
Contractually, I couldn't answer that for you, Mike, but I will tell you that just being in the space of cybersecurity, cybersecurity is a layer approach. Okay, I can tell you, for example, I'll give you one. We use just so you know, one of the things we use in our business is what we call a single sign-on process, right? Which means that we use a very secure platform. Anybody that's a Motiva user will have to authenticate to this process. I don't know if you can see there, but I have to tell the system that I am accessing my systems before I can even access data, okay? And this is something that could be set up within Office 365. They actually have an app called Microsoft Authenticator that works similarly to Okta. Once I'm in that secure environment, and only then, right, I can access my Office 365 files, folders, and everything else. Also, what I was showing you before with those computers that get connected through our policies, you know, those policies, when applied, only those computers that have been applied to that policy could access the system, right? So it is it is more secure than a local system. I could tell you that your, you know, like a typical network is just a basic control all delete thing, and you authenticate against the server, and off you go. Here, you authenticated through many layers of protection, so that gives you access to that. And you could even block locations. Like for us, you know, anyone that's accessing our data, we know exactly where those people are accessing that data from, so we just block those locations from where they're accessing the data. You will never be as secure as a platform on a cloud. You can spend millions of dollars trying to do that on an on-premise system. You will never be as secure as on the cloud. And again, I'm not here to push products. I'm just telling you the facts because this is what I do for a living.
I do have another question that just came in here from Michael Barrett. And thank you again, John, for the questions. Michael is asking, he's just received a new computer from his company. How does he access the company landing page if one were to be set up?
Great question. And what I was showing on that video before, let me see if I can go back. But basically, when a computer belongs to what we call the organization, right? That computer immediately downloads, because we push those policies. We tell the system, hey, every time a user that uses a computer that authenticates to a system, you need to download these policies. So those policies are immediately downloaded. So when they open, for example, the new Microsoft Edge, it's called the Microsoft Chromium Edge version, right? There, we can set it up so when they open Chrome, by the way, it's Edge, but it's Chrome. I don't know if you guys knew that, but Microsoft released a great web browser called Edge, but it's based on Chrome, so it's a phenomenal tool. It's like having Chrome but on steroids. So we could actually make this page based on those policies, because those policies that are applied to the computer and the user are the ones that are bound to the entire organization. The same happens with a telephone, with like a mobile device. So think about, like right now, you probably give access to employees' email on their device. They have email for your corporation. If you're not managing that data exists on their phones and is their data. With data governance like Office 365, once you apply that, they can't even copy an email to another application. In other words, they can open the email on, let's say, Mac Mail, right, on the iPhone. But if they try to forward that email to another thing, another app, or copy or paste, nope. The policies, the cybersecurity policies won't allow that.
Exactly. And Michael, at the very beginning of that whole process, like you were saying, um, it's the simplest thing because to simply access it, you just open the web browser and it's there for you. And you just log in as long as you have access to it. So it's extremely easy. Michael also followed up with another question. And this is great because we get this all the time and it eliminates that middle step. As an end user, are they logging in through a VPN or is it directly through C365?
It's directly to the cloud. There are no VPNs. VPNs are unreliable. Is a direct component to the cloud. So think about it this way. Your files could be on, and I'm on the Mac, so I'll share this. And I think, Robert, we're going to wrap it up after this one, but I'm just going to share my file structure so you kind of get an idea how this works. So this is my Mac, and these are my files, right? So think about these files. They're on the cloud. They're not on my actual local computer. So I can access them through here. I can go and open them here, but I could also go into my SharePoint. And again, this goes back to that one place for everything. And the files appear here as well. I can go to the same folders and the same file structures appear here. So I can access them if I have a computer that's bound to that organization and it has access to those files, kind of like a network share, but it's on the cloud. Then I have access to it there. If not, I could just go to the cloud. And every time you do this, the system will check, is this a computer that tried to log in before and it's been authenticated? So it won't prompt you again to do a double or triple authentication, but it will always prompt you to log in. So it's a very secure system. Robert, I think we have one more question, then we can wrap it up. We're going into an hour now. I just don't want to bore anybody. I mean, if we want to continue, it's fine. I'm just I think it was a good topic. What's the other question you have?
Looking through here, I have those from Michael, the ones from, oh, right here from Tyler. There we go. It just came through.
Tyler, who's saying that Prudential, they use something like this?
Yeah, so they use Edge or Prudential. If large companies like Prudential are using the tools, Walter is showing our members. Imagine how productive this can be for small business. Tyler, thank you so much for
Thank you,
chiming
Tyler.
in and
Absolutely.
adding that content.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. And listen, this could go on for a couple of hours. I invite everyone to please do not hesitate to ping us and call us, ask us any questions. My email address is on here for anyone that wants to send me an email. I just want to take a moment to thank the Melville Chamber of Commerce and everybody that has joined this webinar. I really appreciate your time. I know this is valuable. So thank you so much and have a great day.